I'm Sean Fennessey.
I'm Amanda Dobbins.
And this is The Big Picture, a conversation show about speaking evil. Today on the show, we're discussing the new vacation horror thriller Speak No Evil. And we're also sharing our top 5 get me the fuck out of here movies. What does that mean? You'll know if you've ever seen one. Joining us, of course, to talk about these kinds of movies and Speak No Evil, Chris Ryan, CR.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Before we get into that, I have a couple things I want to talk to you guys about. The first is that Juror Number 2, the latest film from the nonagenarian hero of American cinema, Clint Eastwood, has been dated. On November 1st in limited release, this movie will be coming out. It's closing the AFI Film Festival. Amanda, you say what?
And then will it open wider for Election Day?
It's a very good question.
Listen, I noted the date. I noted with interest, as you both like to say.
Well, the movie, I think, is going to get platformed.
Sure.
So based on how it performs on the first might indicate how much more widely.
So we got to show up twice that weekend.
Yes.
We got to vote early, and
Stay
then
in line.
we got to stay in line for Clint.
So if we're in Trump Town on November 8th, will it go more wide or less wide?
I mean...
Gut call.
More?
Is Trump a Clint guy? And are Clint guys Trump guys? I don't think so.
I mean, in some way, this is just an age issue, right?
That's
you know what
true.
I'm saying?
That's true.
And this is like Clint lost his parking spot on the Warner Brothers lot. And so people of a certain age are going to relate to their rights being slowly diminished because of senility.
Did you see the picture of Nicholas Hoult and Clint Eastwood on set together?
I did not.
And it's like Nicholas Hoult looks like Nicholas Hoult, and then it looks like he found his grandpa at the library. Like,
just be nice.
I'm being nice.
Be nice.
He's 90-something years old.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Juror Number 2.
Yeah, sure.
I hope it will be good. I'd like it to be. I expect it to be a little better than Cry Macho and a little worse than Richard Jewell. That's my POV.
Okay.
And a lot worse than the Mule.
No, we liked,
which was good.
Yeah.
We liked the Mule. Cry Macho.
Cry Macho I was pretty mixed on.
Yeah.
But I'm happy he tried.
There was cockfighting in that?
There was cockfighting.
Yeah.
Macho cockfighting.
I saw it.
Yeah.
You know.
It was solid. Richard Jewell, a brave film.
Yeah.
The Mule, remarkable. Truly an astounding achievement.
Do you only know 4 Clint Eastwood movies? You keep repeating.
No, I'm just thinking of 85 plus. Like, being
Sully
85,
is probably 85 plus as well.
I think it's just shy of it, but Sully is a very good movie, of course.
And American Sniper was post 80, so
it was. And Chris loved the 1517 to Paris, and you love Jersey Boys. So things are going really well for late period Clint.
I never saw Jersey Boys. Maybe
I would say he should not have made that movie. That's something I don't really know anything other than that's my opinion about that. So that's exciting news. That's another film this fall. Unfortunately, you'll be missing it. It certainly sounds like you'll be missing the film The Brutalist. I told Chris on the show on Tuesday, The Brutalist was acquired by A24.
I
it has come for us.
And then I got really annoyed and turned it off.
I watched a 45-second video of Corbett talking about VistaVision.
I bet you did.
And getting like the maximum amount out of
this is what's being served to you next to the guy who's like, let me hack into all of your systems to find out where this truck
is. No, the geolocator stuff is actually, I'm not ashamed of that, I don't think.
But like, he's like creeping but open about it.
Yeah, but he's creeping about people who are like, guess where I am.
No, I know. But when you described it to me, and I did listen to this part of the podcast. I listen to all of your podcasts. I want you to know I'm always here. I'm always listening. And that's something to remember in the coming months.
Oh, as we further...
I will be content creating with that in mind exclusively.
Sure. I'm always there. But when you described the guy who's like, oh, let's find out where this truck is. It's in North Macedonia.
Yeah.
It sort of sounded like...
This is the social media content creator,
It was sort of like you would show... It sounded like he just looked at a picture and then either because he knows a lot about trucks or because he knows a lot about roads, was able to like geolocate it. Then we had a very lovely in-person experience, which maybe we should turn into a video franchise.
Of you and me watching
where
Rainbolt.
You just pulled it up on YouTube and we watched it together. And I was like, oh, okay, so this man is just like accessing all the mainframes.
He is.
And
I mean, he hacked into a couple of security cameras, but they were publicly available. Bobby, have you ever seen any Rainbolt videos?
No, they haven't come across my timeline yet.
Well, good news since we're all saying this out loud.
So
AI will be feeding it to you immediately.
And you're getting Mr. Vox Lux Man.
Yeah.
Okay. What did he have
You
to say
really,
about
the thing about you, Chris, is that you move through them quick, man. Like you have a new obsession that's getting
That's the
served to you like
algorithm.
every 3 weeks.
I can't really
You
control
take no
that.
responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like I got very into this. At some point, it'll notice that I haven't been staying on those videos very long, and then it'll start serving me something else.
Are you prepared to apologize to Brady Corbett?
No, because I haven't seen the movie yet, nor have you.
I haven't.
But I have seen Vox Lux, which even you on
I'm not
the
a fan.
podcast were just like, that was insufferable.
Not a fan of the
so
film.
I'm just
Not afraid to say
I'm
it.
waiting.
Did you know that
You know?
VistaVision film runs horizontally
Does
through the
it?
gate, so you have to account for it when you're doing steady cam shots?
Okay, so will you be going cinema to cinema to make sure that it's
That's the roadshow, is me
Okay.
showing up, being like,
that I
looks
would
great.
see. You know what they should do for Megalopolis is you should be the guy at every screening.
I agree.
In
The guy who interacts with the
and
screen.
listen, it goes
That would
from
be
5 million
amazing.
tracking to 300 million. And then you're in charge of transporting every single canister of 70 millimeter of the Brutalist to its next location.
I wouldn't mind that job. I
I
don't really love LA traffic, but it would be.
When we saw Apocalypse Now in 70 at
Yeah.
the Egyptian, there was a pre-show and they showed us how
Yeah.
the humans who are responsible for transporting these canisters, how
Yeah.
it's hard work. There literally was video of a man being
He's like, I have
"This is heavy."
20,000 pounds of cinema in the back of my van.
Right, and I have a full-grown child in my stomach right now, so
It's
I'm
not a
not that
competition.
What will
impressed.
be the greater masterpiece? That's the question we must ask
Do you
ourselves.
think your
It's
child is going to be more important than Apocalypse Now?
One film will be immortal and one human will not.
It's a great point. You're right when you look at it that way. Maybe it's great, but I need to hear less about film canisters.
Can
there
I
I am.
Can I zag for a second?
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask you guys. I've been watching the Twilight films recently, and I realized I don't think I ever saw Breaking Dawn Part 2.
Oh, with the
The
baby.
final film.
When did you know the werewolf falls in love with a
Yes,
baby?
of course I did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's insane.
It's amazing what we got away with
and
back
also
then.
and what the baby
before
looks
cancel
like,
culture.
which is like in terms of like top babies.
Cancel culture made it so that a werewolf
We can't have
could love
werewolves. Yeah.
an
But like,
infant.
here we go. Top tech babies.
What was the baby? Esme?
Renesmee.
Renesmee. Oh,
Renesmee.
sure, yeah. Number 1, still American Sniper
Renesmee.
plastic baby, and then number 2, wherever they found that creature.
I know.
It's
I know.
so fucked up.
Those films were the first time I realized I was no longer able to analyze kitsch culture for youth. Like when
Yeah.
people were like, "I love those movies," I was like, "Surely you
I
must
like
be
the
joking."
The first one is honestly a pretty
First
good
one's
weird
really
teen
good.
movie.
Second one's
Yeah,
pretty
okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Third one is and then they are crazy.
Because at some point they have to go to Italy,
To
right?
see the Volturi. Yeah.
Oh, sure, of course.
Incredible video series idea where Chris just talks about like the one thing that he missed 10 years
I didn't
ago.
miss
You know,
it.
it's like
I saw
Chernobyl,
it in theaters.
Revisit it.
Twilight.
Is Chris hauling a 70 millimeter canister up a hill?
of Breaking Dawn
And then
Part
we
2.
reveal that it's Breaking Dawn Part 2 on 70 millimeter.
The reason I
And we
thought
all
about
get
this
to
was
watch it
because
together.
we've been watching them and like we've been getting bombarded by Twilight content in our phones.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which means our phones are listening to what we're watching.
Well, sure.
Were
Also-
you more of an Edward or what's the other guy's name
Jacob.
who can't act? Jacob.
Jacob.
Yeah. What's that? Taylor
He gets
Lautner?
better as the
Yeah.
movies go along. Taylor
No, he
Lautner.
does not.
Yeah.
Is he alive? Taylor Lautner? Where is
he
he?
has a pod with his wife.
No,
Yeah,
he
He
doesn't.
came out on
Yeah.
stage at the
He got married.
Yeah.
He came out on stage at the Eras tour.
Yeah.
He came out on stage
on
at the Eras
stage?
tour for
Well,
one
that
of the
just tells you
Yeah.
everything
Did
you
he
need to
come
know about
out
the
for
Eras
Back to
tour. Are you
December?
fucking kidding me?
Yes.
He came out Back to
Yes.
December, which is a very patronizing song about him.
Robert Pattinson is out here making movies with Zendaya and Matt Reeves, and Taylor Lautner's getting on stage at the Eras tour. I think we know who won that battle.
I think we were all agreed beforehand.
It's true. It's true.
You know.
He was a wolf,
Yeah.
and Edward was
And
a
she
vampire.
was a girl. Any more obvious.
We're off to a rip roaring
Yeah.
start on
Good
this
job,
episode.
Amanda.
I'd like to bring this energy to Speak No Evil. Okay.
You don't want to take it seriously?
No, I do want to take it seriously, but I want to have fun with it because I think it's a pretty fun
Yeah.
movie.
And I have to be honest. A lot of the film community has been pretty grumpy.
Yeah.
They
a
have.
lot of complaining about how many times you've had to see the trailer, which, sorry, that's about supporting cinema.
I have my gripes with the trailer. As I told you
Sure.
guys when I first saw it, I still don't really understand why they've decided to promote this movie by giving away so much of the movie. I don't think that was a good idea. Obviously, there is an original film. This is a remake of a 2022 Danish film that Christian Taftrup directed. But I saw that movie on my couch at midnight during virtual Sundance. And I was like, dear God, it is one of the bleakest films really of this century. It is so disturbing and very effective. This new film, this remake, is different, and we will talk about some of those differences. But the twists when you were watching the original, where I was like, wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, a lot of those feelings were in that trailer. So in addition to the fact that they seem to be running this trailer nonstop in front of every movie for 3 months, it's giving away a lot. It's not ideal. And
I agree with you.
We've all kind of griped about that collectively over the last few years, where like the art of the trailer is a little bit lost.
You're a little grumpy about the Gladiator 2 trailer.
I was. And
there's a new one coming.
I won't watch it. I now subscribe to the Chris Ryan theory of one is enough, and even one is sometimes too much.
I try to avoid them.
I've gone teaser only.
And I also try to arrive too late to the movie theater to see the trailers.
I've been trying to do the same thing, even though I used to love seeing trailers
when I
was
got
a
lost
kid.
recently at one of them.
What do you mean?
Well, I arrived too late, and then I couldn't remember what theater I was going to.
Did you miss the movie?
No, I mean, I eventually got there,
was it
but
The
it
Brutalist? You were 3 hours and 17 minutes.
You were in a canal
late.
in Venice.
Damn.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anyone who had like a guide to the theaters, and now the theaters aren't posting what movie.
Was this like the Minotaur's maze of movie theaters?
No, it was at once again the Americana,
Yeah.
my crisis center, and I was just like wandering into different theaters, and I was like, oh well, that's another. This ends with us, and that's another Pokemon or whatever.
One thing I do miss about old school movie theaters is when there was the actual proper marquee with like the banner from the marketing materials of the movie.
Yeah.
Now it's just digital, in some cases not at all.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the trailer thing is not ideal with this movie. There are some people who are like, God, get these trailers off, and they're turned off by the movie. I think that's a lot of internet noise, ultimately.
I also probably that's my algorithm,
Yeah.
Because I was like hiding all of the 70mm tweets, and then they were like, well, instead, let me give you.
You were hiding the 70mm tweets?
It's been like a very long couple weeks in my house, and I just need you to be supportive. We're all.
We gotta get Knox into geoguessing. I think he would be very good. He loves trucks.
That is true. But see, that's
we got to get
him
into hauling 70mm canisters. That's what we got to get.
This trailer discussion brings up the major kind of talking point for me about this movie, which is if you're interested in this film and interested in this story.
And speak no evil and not The Brutalist.
Speak no evil.
Okay.
How is it possible that you don't just want to watch the original? Right? Like who is basically who is this movie for? Like,
hi.
So I think that's helpful.
It's so nice to see you.
Yeah, nice.
Hi.
Chris.
I think that it's nice that we're all talking about this together.
I did it as a bit,
Yes.
right? Like because you guys had explained the Danish film to me famously several years ago, and that lived with me. And then that was like a rare case where I got feedback from other people who listened to the podcast who were like, I watched that movie that Sean described to you, and that was like really fucked up. Like I should have heeded the warning. But so then we were invited to see it together, and I was like, okay, I could either do the prep or I could play the part of the person who has only seen, the dumb American version.
No, I think that's good that you haven't seen the original, and we can talk about the comparisons of the two.
But also, like, I really like James McAvoy.
Yeah, but you also like subtitles. So
That's
you like
true.
But here's the trick of the original film is most of it is in English because it is a film about a Dutch couple and a Danish couple.
And they
both speak English because that's their common language.
It's not because it's a foreign film. It's because it's a depraved horror film. And I was like, well, I don't know if I need to see.
And you were a new mother at the time when it came out, and it's a film about child rearing in one form or another.
Sure.
This new film has basically the same general outline, which is that a couple on a Tuscan vacation encounter another couple. Both of these couples have young children between the ages of like 5 and 9, and they hit it off on vacation, and one couple invites the other to come visit them in their home on another vacation, essentially, because they've gotten along so well on this vacation. This very quickly escalates into a kind of psychological and then ultimately physical nightmare. The two films are very different, though, in the way that they like unfurl the nightmare particularly. This new film, I would say, is ultimately more of a thriller than a horror movie. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Very consciously so.
Yeah.
Why do you think they made that change out of curiosity?
Well, I was going to ask a little bit. Is now when we get to talk about like Scandinavian hosting rituals?
If you'd like.
Well, some of it is, I guess they dumbed it down or tried to broaden it for an American audience.
I think soften it.
Yeah. And there is your point about subtitles and underestimating all audiences. But I do think that this is a slightly more, this is a movie about American cultural, norms or assumptions in a lot of ways, even though it's set in England. And I think Americans are very different socially than Scandinavians. And I don't mean that Scandinavians are like trying to kill everyone, but all the time. But
just not all the time.
Just not all the time.
Well, Holland is not Scandinavia, right?
It's the Netherlands.
Oh, it's the Netherlands. So
yeah, it's the Dutch couple is hosting the Danish couple.
Oh, right. And the Dutch are universally understood to be weird by other Europeans, right?
Not commenting on that. To all of our Dutch listeners, I want to say
direct.
Thank you for patronizing this podcast.
I don't know.
You said that the Scandinavians are murderers and the Dutch are weird.
The do not fly list is growing longer by the moment.
Enjoy your time.
Well, it is true that one of the American version, this new version, does preserve a few jokes at the Dutch people's expense.
Yes, it does.
Right?
Yes. Very amusingly.
Right, which is like, so trying to bring in some
They're
of
very
that.
parsimonious with toilet paper, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
And then don't you guys remember that tweet thread about like going to someone's home in Sweden and then waiting upstairs, like going to your friend's house in Sweden and waiting upstairs while the Swedes have dinner by themselves?
I don't know if I know about that, but actually in the original film, there are a lot of jokes at the Swedes' expense.
Right.
Between the Danish and the Dutch.
Yeah.
So, all to say, this is a Swedish-owned company here, Spotify. We won't be besmirching the nations of Scandinavia or elsewhere in Europe. But both movies are about kind of culture clash, And
right,
I think
they're different cultures and so different sensibilities.
And I think some of this movie, the original film, I would say, the incredibly bleak film, my reading of it is that it is a kind of indictment of bourgeois stagnation, of like upper middle class complacency and the like comfort and ease and the way that we take things for granted. And then sometimes you can be met by the profundity of evil, really, like the profundity of darkness and how it can rip everything apart and how you have no control over anything, even though you think life is just this like ever-flowing, soft river of contentment.
But that's way too nihilist for Americans.
It's 100%.
Yeah. Then that's my point.
So, I was actually wondering whether or not, I don't know if you got a chance to ask James McAvoy about this, and I wouldn't want to spoil it, but whether or not a global movie star would participate in the original ending. Like whether or not they would be able to get over that being something that their character does. Because like once you get to a certain level of celebrity and once you get to a certain level of notoriety as an actor, I think you're very self-conscious with how you're perceived, right?
I don't think it was even on the table to pursue the original ending because I think what the new movie is about, and we can start to get into the details a little bit, but I don't want to spoil the movie too much before people have had a chance to see it. This movie just is clearly just about toxic masculinity. And there's the Patrick character from the original film is somewhat similar to the Patty character that McAvoy plays in this movie, the sort of the paterfamilias, the host. But the Patty character is way more extreme and way more the leader than in the original film.
Yeah.
And the Aisling Franciosi character, who's McAvoy's character's wife in the movie, is almost like a surrogate or like an employee to his...
She's almost like a cult member, right?
Yes,
like,
yes. To like the grander scheme that is happening underneath the movie. That's not how it is in the original. The original is way more like ambient and doom-like.
Yeah.
Where you're like, why is this happening? Nothing is really explained. There are no big monologues. It's
very procedural. Like the first one, I think you're onto something there where it was what you said earlier about the...
And why are the shoes wooden?
The original film is like, there's this like veneer or this like tissue that stops us from going into the void.
Yep.
And like, we think we're going on vacation, but really we're going to a completely strange land. You know what I mean? And it really depends on your POV, but it's like, once you slide down this rabbit hole of what if we were just in the hands of just truly evil people, like, would there be a basically infrastructure or support system to keep us safe? No, there isn't.
Yeah.
This one is way more, I think it's like timely now. And there's a lot of really kind of, frankly, astute little observations
I think
about
it's really smart. Yeah.
very right now.
Really
I
well
wonder
observed.
whether it will feel a bit dated in 10 years.
It's possible.
But I found it to be as like a social commentary and like a sly kind of lampooning of certain traits in men's culture right now. Pretty good.
I think you could make the case that it actually is working at its best when it's like a comedy of manners and a satire than when it is like a pure scary movie about a bad people. Like most of that stuff works. It's like conventionally entertaining. But I agree. Like I think it's really well observed.
Yes. It's toxic masculinity for sure. Also, there is a lot of parenting stuff in it which is like very funny to watch. And I'm sure that you and I will judge all of the decisions when we get into the breakdowns. And even the set design, the nature of the house, the choice of like the Tesla, all of these little things where you're like, oh, okay, like check. And the way that Mackenzie Davis is dressed, I'm like, okay, like I know who these people are. I get it. And all of it is very deliberate and very effective, I think.
Yeah, I thought so too. So I thought we should open this conversation about the movie itself by talking about ourselves, which is like vacation friends. We may have joked about this when the original came out. I am just broadly mystified by this trend or seeming trend, or maybe it's just invented for this, but going on vacation, I don't want to meet new people. That's not really like one of my goals.
That's going to come as a shock to our listeners.
It doesn't mean I'm against having pleasant conversation with strangers.
Right.
I'm not. I'm happy to be cordial. Don't be rude. I'm happy to be cordial. I'm more cordial with strangers than I am with my friends.
No, that is true. And it is like a dial that you turn on. It's like, are you open? It's like the taxi light. And you're just like, sure, okay. Like I will decide to be sociable, charming, Sean.
But I don't want to pursue that any further than the vacation.
Okay.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I think this is absolutely psychotic. Of course. And I said that to you the first time.
Yep.
And I don't really want to meet new people on vacation either, which I guess is not a surprise to anyone who's listening.
Yeah, I think this might be a you guys problem.
I agree.
Phoebe, I mean, you guys are more sociable than both of us, just like in general.
I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm open to the experience. You never know who you're going to meet.
Yeah.
What if
maybe it will be the person who destroys your life forever?
Or what if it was like like a guy who's like the quarterback's coach for the Jets and was like, "Do you want to hang out and come to practice and stuff?"
That's the last person I want to see right now.
They didn't do good, right?
They didn't do good. Yeah. No good.
But the Mets are doing okay, right?
They're doing very well.
There's the thing that this movie does, because it's a movie, is it makes this jump that these people that you meet on vacation, then you get kind of like loose paired with and sort of making jokes about other people at this resort that they're at or this hotel, that they would continue this relationship based on a blind letter sent that's just like, you got to come visit us. Everybody knows that if you met somebody like at a hotel or like an event or something like that, and it was like the two couples got along, you'd start a group chat and you would kind of feel each other out a little bit. Send some memes. Send some fucking funny gifs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See who's laughing at what.
What memes would you be sending? Like the Vince McMahon meme or like the brain meme, Galaxy Brain?
Just,
which
some
one?
of your reels traffic will go towards
record scratch. You might be wondering how I got here.
Benicio del Toro firing the semi-automatic gun really fast.
Yeah,
Dave the Soldado meme.
Nice.
And then if they laugh at that, you're like, maybe we've got something,
I don't know. I mean, it's a real like 30 Rock, like never go with a hippie to a second location situation, but the hippie in this case is people you've only met once.
Fair enough. I've never hung out after vacation with people I've met on vacation.
If you lived in the same city and you don't have to commit to staying in someone else's home, maybe you could hang out.
I find it much more difficult, I think, probably if this was more of a New York thing when we were all in the same buildings, but it would be, I was a little bit more allergic to becoming friends with our neighbors because I didn't like the idea that I would be like every single time I see you, I have to make small talk or something like that.
My neighbors are listening right now, probably. Hi, Gina and RS.
That's why I was specifying for New York.
Lovely.
Yeah.
They're lovely people.
Would you go on vacation with them?
They travel a lot and they're younger and they have like a real zest for the world. So sure.
Okay.
But I know them.
Are they Dutch?
I don't think so.
Might want to check that out.
Really
I know.
tough beat
They're
for
going to
the
be like
Dutch
really,
so
really
far on
bad
this
for
pod.
me.
Anyway, yeah.
For the record, I have Dutch heritage, so
Well, that's not surprising.
I obviously would never do this. There is a little bit of it stretches you the belief, I think, signing up to go on a trip like this. In the original film, I think it's a little bit more credible because one, the Dutch couple is introduced in a more grand environment where like many couples are dining together, and we see the Dutch couple kind of like leading the charge socially. It's not this much more contained experience where the English couple, portrayed by McAvoy and Franciosi, are like almost like mocking everyone around them in a way.
I think they're
and then
making
drawing
these
in
people
Ben and
feel
Louise.
comfortable by being like, we can laugh at everybody here.
Yes.
Yeah, but even from the beginning, they're also portrayed as like the noisy. James McAvoy is the one like dragging the resort chair.
That's true.
I mean, this movie is
that app happens almost exactly in the original film.
well.
too.
Another reason I don't really like resorts that much, as we've discussed. Well, I don't
we have
because
discussed
there's so
that.
many people, and and then they're just like doing their random shit.
Yeah.
But these people are at first
They're just
presented
doing their random shit, being
it's
alive.
Like, I didn't go on vacation to be around other people doing their random shit.
What is the most
know?
minor thing you've ever complained about at a hotel?
Oh boy.
Oh my god! Come on, are you kidding?
Just asking.
This is why
But you say that as if you also aren't in this sphere of
I've been
someone with
traumatized.
standards.
I have my own
if I may,
war stories.
Yeah.
there's a lot of othering of me on this pod as being a weird person. But you guys in any hotel ever
What are you talking
are
about?
Listen,
psycho.
Never accept the first offer.
I
Okay,
also-
that's true in business, and that's true in a hotel room.
Sure. Okay.
No, I'm serious because they always have more inventory and they're going to give you the least desirable thing that they have available. And you can very politely say, I would prefer not to be right next to the elevator ice machine air shaft extravaganza.
Where like 84 people are smoking. Yeah.
And
Do
they're like,
you
"Oh, of course.
volunteer
What if
to
you-
record yourself
excuse
in
me,
every
sir?"
hotel service worker's interaction going forward?
Excuse me, sir, I would like a window, And then they're like, oh, we didn't know. And now here's a room with a window.
Do you take my
consider
offer
it.
or not?
When you get upgraded at a hotel, are you like, that's so cool. Thank you.
I hug the man who upgrades me.
But you're not being upgraded.
What do you mean?
They're just putting you in a shitty room that they're like, oh, we got a nice, it's like
Yeah.
You guys think you're like the head of the Better Business Bureau or something? Like, get over it.
You know
You
what
complain to
you know
hotel
what
people.
You
You're
know
rude.
what I don't do yet? But like I have real aspirations of becoming just like enough of a boss to do this. We have a friend's mother who, when they would arrive at a hotel, they check in and then she leaves the bags at the front desk and is like, you can show me the hotel room now and we'll decide whether we bring the bags up. I still haven't done it, but that is just inspiring stuff.
I find that disgusting. I think that is despicable behavior.
It's not, they didn't build the hotel. You know that, right? It's not like they're like, this is a reflection of my
spitting
person.
in your- in their face
you're
while
not
they're
making
doing
it
it.
harder on the hotelier. You're making it harder on the people who work there.
It's not that hard to go click,
Yeah,
click,
you're not
click
mean
and
to
move me
them.
into another room if it's like, it's
guys.
too
You
hot
don't
in one
scream
place.
at them. You don't,
Absolutely.
You
I'm
just
sure you're
ask.
always super polite and calm. Absolutely. Guys, come on. Be real. Be real with me. Come on.
That's
I know how
fine.
this works. I've been on vacation with
That's
you guys.
why you're in line at 5 a.m. for the damn resort chair, that James McAvoy dragged to the other part of the.
That may be true.
Yeah. See,
Sometimes
that's
you have
not
to
how we're
suffer for
living.
pleasure.
Maybe you have too much Scoot McNairy energy.
Yeah.
This is a hardcore Catholic upbringing versus whatever you guys are. That's what this is. Is you got to live through
I
it.
could not agree more. I'm sitting here the whole time thinking I would never ask for anything
I'm
else.
not
I'll just
asking
take the
for
room they give me.
anything else. I'm not like I expect to be upgraded to a suite. I'm just
No.
like, hey man, the air conditioning is not working in this room. Do you think I could
Yeah.
get another?
Or hey, do you have anything available on
And
a
it's
higher
always
floor?
super nice. I'm
Because
never like a fucking dick.
if you do,
where I'm
I would
just
prefer
like,
that.
Get me your manager.
Yeah.
I never. Have
I'm not
asked for the
saying that
manager.
that's a bad idea. I'm just saying I can't do it.
I've
I
never
just
asked
can't
for a
do it.
manager in my life.
Not even on a customer service call.
People are just lying right now. Like these are just lies.
I've
being
never
told.
asked for the manager. You know me.
Has your partner asked for a manager?
I'm not going to talk about that. I refuse to talk about that. And if you don't want me to be on this pod anymore, that's fine. I'll leave.
I'm gonna pivot us back to the movie. We won't make hotel friends.
Right? No, but so these are the annoying people. That's how they're presented.
Yeah. They are. You're right. They're more boisterous and they're drawing attention to themselves, but also there
is also, I think, some sort of class element implied that is, as I understand it, different from the original. Because Scoot McNairy, and it's also, it's interesting. Scoot McNairy and Mackenzie Davis's characters are American.
It's interesting because I think that they're supposed to have the trappings of like upper middle class, upper class life, but he's unemployed.
Exactly.
And is going through a depressive episode. There's some infidelity going on. And I think it's supposed to be like they've arrived at this place, this plateau in their life where they're like, oh, our lives are actually more hollow than we thought they were going to be once we arrived here. Whereas the James McAvoy character is like, I live free and my life is full. And so Scoot McNairy wants a taste of that. Hence why he accepts this invitation.
He is he's presented as like a bon vivant. He's like drinking the giant glass of Barolo and, lapping up telling stories. And he's a doctor and he's a man of the world. And he's got this beautiful, young, passionate wife and a beautiful, perfect family. And so there's this sense of, it's not just the cultural clash. It's sort of like, it's not that it's class per se that is being undermined.
Well, maybe, they're like, they're signaling certain things about their class and also how that affects their various levels of confidence and, just kind of the assumptions they're making about themselves and about other people.
Yeah. I think there's also a little bit of and this is a difference from the original, like a city dweller versus the sort of like living in the country.
Right. Yeah, you guys are all like, your faces are in your phones all the time.
Right.
You don't feel things.
Which I think is pretty on point. Like pretty, like you said, like smartly observed, except when I think I'm curious what you guys think this movie actually kind of means about that. Like what it actually is trying to represent. Where like, is it that everyone who's between the ages of 35 and 50 is kind of like unhappy and corrosive in their own ways, whether they're actually psychotic or just miserable in their marriages? Or is this just like a suitable setup for a thriller? I don't know. Because the movie does have clearly has a lot of ideas. So does it have any follow through on those ideas? It's a trope
in these movies going back to as far as I can remember watching them, like these kinds of movies, whether it's an adult thriller or even horror, where you're basically taking a very passive, kind of infantilized guy, and then throwing him into a very physical world. And he comes out the other side either changed and realizes now I'm fully back in touch with the core man inside of me, or dead. Right. So
Straw Dogs, I think, has been the movie that this has been most compared to. Deliverance. These are kind of hallmarks for like Scoot McNairy, your ever loving boy, is just a mega beta in this movie. Yeah. He is the beta-ist of beta. He has been cuckolded. He's driving a Tesla. He doesn't know how to communicate with anyone except for his daughter, it seems like.
More or less beta than his character in Gone Girl, which I had forgotten about until he showed up.
So awesome.
When we hosted the Gone Girl screening.
Just a remarkable 4-minute performance. He is so funny and desperate in that movie. Yeah. But it does feel, that guy seems almost like the sequel in this movie. Whereas the McAvoy character, McAvoy in this movie, is huge. I did talk to him a bit about that in the interview, and he explained why he was so huge. But he's hulking almost.
Yeah.
And he's got this scraggly facial hair, and he is...
wears flannel.
Yeah, and he's like a man's man, and he's chewing with his mouth open, and he's guzzling drinks, and he's grabbing his wife, very physical with her. And they're just like a contrast of terms. The two women are interesting. Like, I didn't feel like the two women were particularly fleshed out in the original film. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're more fleshed out in this movie. I think maybe some of that is just that you have like maybe slightly more well-known actresses to me too. So maybe I bring more to it. But Mackenzie Davis, I feel like her character has like a way more important role in this movie than the original film.
The big distinction between the two films is that the European version pretty much gives no time to like the backstory of characters. It's just like, this is happening and this happened to these people.
Right.
Whereas this film is like, all these elements of their personalities led them to this crucible and they'll be changed forever by it.
Right.
Would you move to London for a job?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean,
I know you would.
Yes. But then I was like, oh shit, I have children now, so
right.
I would have to think about that. But also, seems great.
Would you bring your children to a stranger's house for vacation?
No. But some of that is like I wouldn't bring myself, you know?
Given what we now know about you and your hotel traditions, how many weird things would have to happen in this stranger's home before you took your child out of the house?
I could definitely see, and I mean this respectfully because I'm in a similar situation, just like leaving in the middle of the night. You'd just be like, let's just go. We'll never even acknowledge it.
Well, yeah, there is one incident. And I mean, I know you guys just think I'm like a raging asshole. And to
you guys.
And you too. And to
No!
you, and to you, I often am.
I'm not denying the accusation.
I think that like once I were there, I would feel a little more self-conscious and like trying to make everything go along. Like I was raised in Atlanta, so there is some of that Southern, like, no, we just have to like make everything okay, make everything okay, make everything okay. I mean,
that's not my experience with Atlanta Braves fans, is that they make everything okay.
They want to chop you right out of the stadium.
You bring this up every September, and I've fully renounced the Braves. Okay, I ordered my son a T-shirt featuring the Philly Fanatic, Gritty, Benjamin Franklin, and Swoop crossing the Delaware.
Mr. Met and Woody Johnson,
right,
former ambassador to Donald Trump from England. Speaking of, is this movie a metaphor for Woody Johnson being the ambassador to England? That is my question.
But anyway, I
can't do better. That's the most me joke I can make. I literally can't do better than that. The point you're making is exactly what I wanted to get into, which is that the genius of the original movie, and maybe even this movie even more so, is the peer pressure of social expectation.
Yes.
That when you get yourself in a social situation, you can't just be like me on a podcast being weird with my friends and knowing that they'll accept it. Right. You have to have a kind of grace and decency in those environments, even if they're relative strangers.
Yeah.
I mean,
because we've been trained.
To, but we have all been trained
right.
too.
But and most people I think have been. Most decent people would never be like, you guys are fucking weird, I'm out of here. And the movie is just like gnawing at you with that. And that's why the get me the fuck out of here conceit occurred to me, because it takes many shapes, but this is a very distinct version of it.
Yes.
One of the things that I think they do to distinguish this film from the original and also make this such like a kind of, I think you like successful setup, is that the house that Patty has is much different than the one in the original. And this one is much more like broken down dollhouse.
Yes.
And in fact, you almost go into this movie, if you've seen the original, kind of being like, did he kill someone and bury them out back and now took over like some old person's house? Because this looks like somebody in their 80s, like all of their accumulated stuff. And you're kind of like very suspicious. But what it does is there's so many creaky stairways and gluey windows and all this stuff that you're just like, this would be a very uncomfortable shared living space if you didn't know the people. It's not like you have like your own wing. It's not like you have your own area.
Right.
It's like, oh no, let me just step over you here in the kitchen. Are you done with the bathroom? Can I use it? Like that kind of stuff.
In the original film, the Dutch couple's home is really more of just like a typical upper middle class home.
Yeah.
It's not this massive country estate. Everything isn't creaky, as Chris said. It gives it more of a haunted house feel.
Is it isolated?
Yes.
Very.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to take a ferry and then drive for a long time. They don't make as big of a deal about him not being able to find it in the original.
They don't. But it is, I mean, there are these like really Doom-like compositions of like these little people standing in awe of like a windmill. And you're like, we are all just ants ready to be crushed by nature. The movie doesn't, this movie is not pitched that way at all. You know, there's like the famous like Primal Scream stuff in the first one. There's some of that here where like, are Patty and Ben going to be best friends forever because Patty is able to understand and exploit his frailty as a man? There's a lot of that in the first film. Like you see the movie kind of turns on this idea that like maybe these two guys need each other until they don't.
Yeah. It's a good bit about like when you're in a couple, you have to process the world a lot as part of a pair.
Yeah.
And that Ben, obviously, if he just could have Patty, would be like, this would be fun. This would be like an adventure weekend, but like has to process everything through like, does my wife like it? She's a vegetarian. Like he only wants to serve lamb or whatever. Like there's all these concessions being made, which I thought is an effective way to build up tension.
What was the thing that most had you like oh no, we're not. We can't. No way.
Well, I mean, two things. Number one, to the couple's point, and asking how far would I get in this situation? I mean, can you imagine the conversations that would be having in the private bedroom, in the bedroom between me and Zach? Like, I mean, he would not emerge living from this weekend.
Patty, can I speak to your manager?
Yeah. I'll just give you a little bit of a sneak preview of what those conversations would be like.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see The Brutalist. Do you think it will be still playing in this division when we get back to Los Angeles? How many times can we go? Will Brady Corbett introduce it?
What if I do 12 consecutive episodes about it while Amanda's out?
Why don't you
guys just reenact
The Brutalist minute by minute?
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There you
Too
go.
brutal. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds
God.
that's a really good idea.
But so the other incident.
The 12 Brutalists of Christmas.
Build it brick by brick.
Full Christmas set, us in Santa
I
outfits,
love
but
it.
we just are talking about the Brutalists.
No, I'm going to be dressed like Christ.
I mean,
And we'll put Brady in the manger.
Yeah. Bobby is like an elf, the film elf.
Yeah, let's do it.
I would like to be like a reindeer at least. I don't think I want to be an elf.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Bob and Jack, and we'll have to find a third producer here to be the wise men.
Okay.
You know?
Oh,
great.
right. You're making this
The
very
company
religious. I'm
grinds
trying
to a
make it
halt because
festive.
of this idea.
The Catholicism is running deep in this conversation.
Okay.
No.
I don't know why you're a character from In the Name of the Father today. You're fucking Sean. Chill out.
but the other moment
Yeah.
is when they actually do leave and then she forgets the stuffed animal. And I was like, you are 11. Like, that child is 11. You gotta
Is she 11? I feel like she's 9.
I think she is.
8. She's 11?
I think Manola Dargis identified her as 11.
So maybe
11.
that's why. So maybe, yeah.
That's old
Listen,
for needing a bunny rabbit, a stuffed rabbit.
I listen, no judgment, but like in this situation, we gotta
Mhm.
learn lessons. We
Mhm.
gotta learn about separation. We gotta
Some of
move
us
it
are mothers
forward.
of sons, and some
Yeah.
of us are fathers of daughters.
okay.
And fathers of daughters, they have things that they need. You know, the daughters, they need to have things to feel comfort. And so the movie is really playing on that mania. The original film does the same thing very effectively. Maybe this movie, the new one might do it more effectively because you're like, God, it's the classic, like, don't go in that room feeling, but don't turn that car around.
Yeah.
And naturally they turn that car
Yeah.
around.
But I was like, no. You've brought this.
So
on
would you
yourself
guys
now.
have been able to get over? Are we talking like specifics here? I guess we are talking specifics.
Yeah, and
right?
if you don't want to hear any more about the movie, perhaps you should turn out. We haven't really spoiled much other than key setup moments.
You've made this leap to go to a stranger's house for vacation,
Uh-huh.
and then they introduce the idea of a babysitter is coming over to watch your children. Would that be the biggest
See,
red
that's
flag?
I saw you put that in the outline. I don't care about that at all.
Would never do that in a million years.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, you're already at the stranger's house.
What level of vetting do your babysitters need?
I need to meet them before they take care of my child.
Yeah.
I think that's
I
reasonable.
mean, they meet
That's
the
good.
babysitter before they
That's
say
good.
hello.
That's good.
And he's like a
OPSEC.
strange 40-year-old man. Like, that's not. I don't know.
I
There's
don't know.
no way.
That's like I've already.
In the middle of nowhere with like no cell phone service. No.
Yeah.
No fucking
well,
way.
right. Then why are you there in the house at the first place?
I mean,
That's
I
the
wouldn't
thing.
go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make a vacation
As
friend.
soon as you
So-
could no longer log on, you would be like, "We must leave."
I think especially because there by the time that happens, there have already been 2 or 3 instances of discomfort that signal.
Yeah,
like,
he makes her eat the meat
The
when
goose,
she's
yes.
vegetarian. Yeah.
It
He
just,
makes the kid sleep in the room with the other kid.
yes.
Weird.
That's really weird.
And then he's like, "I've brought over this man to watch our children so that we can go out tonight to a pub."
I
I mean, that's just childcare.
I know. I don't have children.
know?
I'm open
trying to
it.
get you to take care of my child. You
You
know,
want
like I'm
me to be the man.
flexible. I'm ready
The
for
ironic
anything.
thing is that in this formulation, you're actually the Aisling Franciosi and James McAvoy, and Chris is the buddy who comes over. But who's the couple that you invite over before
Right.
you enact your murderous spree?
I mean, I guess so. That one, I was just like, whatever. There are larger problems
Unbothered by
here.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you let your child ride a Vespa with a stranger?
Not without a helmet.
Okay.
Would you?
I don't have a child.
But would the
It's
deterrent-
more likely that
Would
I'd
you
be
take
driving
Max
the Vespa,
on the Vespa
right?
without a helmet?
I don't like the idea of having too much responsibility of your children because I love both of you dearly and I just
Right.
don't want to drop them.
I know, and also Phoebe gets mad at you. Yeah.
What about you, Vespa?
That honestly made me a little bit more stressed out because people are maniacs, and I worry about the car accidents. I'm like gonna write to the neighborhood council about about Colorado Boulevard because I'm worried about all that. But people are just maniacs, so that's where I am in my parenting thing. But
Wait a second. I'm not trying to derail this, but do you look at traffic safety much the same way as you look at hotel management, where you're like, these guys work hard on our roads? We have no right to complain about.
What do you mean traffic safety?
I mean, the problem is also that you are the problem on every other road, but the road that goes by our kids' school.
Wait, are we complaining about the people who take care of the roads?
She's gonna write to the Colorado Boulevard
I'm not actually going
authorities
but
to
they
be
are
like,
just like
slow these cars down.
It's a school zone.
Yeah.
There are multiple school zones.
And I'm like, do you look at any form of complaint in society
do you not
as
get worried
weakness?
about that?
I drive very safely, so I'm not.
We did a podcast where we both talked about watching Red Zone while driving
I
on the
listened
highway.
to Red Zone.
But you know that you looked down once or twice.
Did I? Can you prove that in a court of law?
You're probably on camera in your Tesla. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Well,
did you as a Tesla owner feel seen in this film?
I don't own a Tesla, mercilessly for me. I did think it was very funny that they cast him in a Tesla.
Yeah, but then they didn't use the actual. I mean, it's not a flat tire situation. It's a no battery situation.
That was kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
That was
West
the move.
Country does not have a lot of superchargers.
Yeah.
That was a good. That's an odd miss.
Or maybe
by
it
this
does.
movie.
Because the minute they did it, I was like, oh, he's going to run out of charging. Yeah.
That's the new. There's no service on my cell phone for movies with.
Do you think
EVs.
Tesla's you can't use our cars if you show them running out of batteries?
Oh, interesting question. I don't know.
Probably.
I hadn't thought of that. And
what authority do they have over that?
Well, can't you be like, you're not allowed to use my brand in your movie?
I don't. Legally speaking, does that just be a thing that you see in the real world though? They don't own the copyright. You're not making money off their brand.
I think what you're saying is 100% right, but there is also these are massive corporations that are working in union together.
Yes, they probably didn't pay for those cars.
Yeah.
Yes.
Elon pulls the batteries. Blumhouse can't run their generators,
So Elon is supplying Blumhouse with all the batteries.
I don't know that. But I don't know that that's not true.
Well, not after this movie.
I was just thinking about Leave the World Behind last year, where the Teslas are a major plot point, and I don't think that
of the Teslas.
Yeah, maybe Netflix
brother Elon would have been happy about that.
POV. We don't know.
Should we talk about when this movie distinguishes itself from the original?
Yeah,
you don't want to talk more about the traffic patterns in Los Angeles.
The third act of the movie is pretty much completely different.
Yeah.
From the third act of the original film.
I will say that watching this movie in the first half, I was like, this is of high competence, but this is a very strange sensation to just be literally watching, the same film take place.
A lot of very specific beats are repeated up until a point.
So it's kind of like this almost like copy of a copy feeling. And
do they listen to Eternal Flame in the car?
No, but he listens uncomfortably loudly on the way home from the restaurant to a Dutch song.
Yeah.
Okay.
That really unnerves the Danish couple.
Okay.
But then, not unlike, say, the European version of The Vanishing and the American version of The Vanishing, it has its own culmination, its own denouement.
That the final act of the movie is really more of a cat and mouse chase, where in the original, I just want to talk through the ending of the original very quickly again. I know you've heard me say it. In fact, I described it in full with Chris at my side at my wife's 40th birthday party, which is something I'm very proud of.
That was a good party.
Thank you.
Also, Just to set the can I set the scene, which is that like
Sure.
half of the participants were blindfolded throughout that party because it was a taste test situation.
Yes.
So but you guys weren't.
Strange
so
little life we've
it was
created
really,
for ourselves.
it's pretty weird when I look back on it.
Probably
like
the
that.
best thing I've ever done as a husband.
It was an incredible party.
My wife had a great time, so I'm pleased. But she also let Chris and I talk about the Danish thriller Speak No Evil at length.
That's because we had all like tasted 8 different types of rosé.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah.
The end of the movie, in which the Danish couple attempts to leave again, and as they're leaving, they run out of gas, or they hit a flat tire, or they have to pull over for some reason, and then the families are separated. The Dutch couple catches on to what's happening. I think the wife.
What's the thing with like the car horn? There's a car horn thing in the original, right?
I can't. I just watched this and I can't totally remember. But needless to say, the husband and the wife are separated somehow, and the daughter is with the wife. And the Dutch couple catches up to them and picks them up, and they're pulled over car. They track down the Danish husband. They get him in the car. And when the two couples and the daughter are in the car, the Danish man is the one who has discovered the scheme that the Dutch couple has been doing. He finds photos of kids from previous kidnappings. He finds all the tools. He finds a child dead face down in a pool in one of the sheds.
Tough beat.
Very unnerving stuff. So they race out of the house. They get separated. They eventually all come back together. And then literally, and I'm sorry for talking about this, but when I was watching the movie, I was like, I can't believe this happened. The Dutch couple literally grabs the little girl, opens her mouth, and cuts her tongue out on screen while the Danish couple watches and is rendered helpless because the Danish man has been punched in the face by the Dutch guy. And then the Danish couple are forced to get out of the car, strip naked, go down into a dirt ravine, and then they are murdered by having rocks thrown at them.
And they have the sort of peak nihilism of this movie is that they're like begging, like, why are you doing this to us? And then the Dutch guy's like, because you let me.
Because you let me. That's the last line of dialogue in the movie. And they're murdered, and their bodies are left nude in a hole. And it's, you walk away from the movie being like, I guess, like, I should just go walk into traffic. Like, there's no other way to respond to the movie other than like, wow, that movie did not pull punches. This movie pursues a much more conventional kind of ending where they try to escape. They have to turn around because they forgot the rabbit. They try to escape again, but their car has a flat tire. It is actually the children in this case who discover the scheme. The boy who has been kidnapped and who's had his tongue cut out helps the girl come down into effectively like the barn's basement where
with
a lot of the scrapbook and a lot of the stolen items from the previous families who've been kidnapped here.
In the original, the boy is found in the pool. In the new one, it's McAvoy throws the boy into a pond, and Scoot McNairy goes back, like can't turn his back on the boy.
Yeah.
It becomes fairly clear that this has been a scheme to rob and murder these people, and that this is something this family's been doing a long time. And then the movie just turns into like a big bad monster movie where James McAvoy and Aisling Franciosi are just hunting and chasing these people for 15, 20 minutes. Did this like work? Like, did you find that it was like entertaining? Did you find it was effective?
I mean, so it was interesting. I hadn't seen the original movie, but I knew the ending of the original movie, or I knew what you guys had told me roughly 2 years ago. And for whatever reason, I didn't like re-Google the Wikipedia page.
Mm-hmm.
So I was watching being like, wait, so this is different? Maybe this is going to be different. It was kind of fun for me in the sense of trying to figure out what are they going to do, and are they going to do the same ending, or are they going to do something new? So I think that was probably unique. But as Chris said, there are a lot of traps in that house. So some of them were fun. What lighter fluid did they pour on people for a while?
Oh, it was paint thinner, wasn't it?
Paint
or something
thinner?
like
Yeah,
that. I mean, the rooftop stuff is all great. Like all the stuff with the set up earlier with the stuffed rabbits up on the roof, and they have to get up there, and then Scoot McNairy finally like gets his wings when he
gets his man moment. Yeah. Did you feel seen in that moment?
I thought that the way that they handled, like, it wasn't like Scoot's character became He-Man and stepped up to defend his family. He like essentially sacrifices himself not fatally, but like I think blows his knee out. But you can come back from those things, as Aaron Rodgers has shown us. You know,
has he? I thought it worked pretty well. I think it is much less bleak and much less metaphorical.
I almost felt like I was like on doing like a mouse cheese thing where I was like, this is new and different, so I'm excited by it. Like I thought it was like a creative way of being like, if they're gonna live, how are they gonna get the hell out of here?
Right.
So I thought that
and
part
like
was cool.
in terms of the specific like setup and filmmaking, I was like stressed out when they were trapped in the window.
Yep.
I was educated by the application of paint thinner, and I was like, okay, good things to know, like life's survival tips.
It's been noted that McAvoy is not just physically big in this part, but his performance is big.
Yeah.
You're a big McAvoy lady.
Huge fan, and I like all the stages of McAvoy. Like from Atonement all the way through now. I'm just like an absolute hulked out weirdo in whatever crazy horror movie is being marketed. So I'm really happy for him. I enjoyed it. I was incredibly charmed by the whole Bengals shtick because I love the Bengals and I love Eternal Flame, and he's very funny in it. But he's watchable, and there is something like they use that charisma in the movie, and so why would you do this is, well, I don't know if I would go to any other stranger's house, but like maybe James McAvoy's. You know what I'm saying?
Do you agree with that?
I think he does a really good job of being incredibly aggressive and incredibly vulnerable in this movie. So like every mistake he makes, everything that could be seen as a trespass or like an aggression, he then like is like, oh, I'm so fucked up over my dad, and like
he disarms
I'm,
you.
I'm very embarrassed by the fact that I don't make as much money as you, and it's very awkward for me. Like, for the most part, like even the scene, one of the more chilling scenes in this movie is the one that's most kind of quotidian. Is like the kids put on a dance show, and it's a ruse. But James McAvoy's character keeps getting very angry at his son for fucking up the dance moves, and it's like an agonizingly long sequence of James McAvoy like repeatedly starting the song over and then be like, you're fucking up, you're screwing this dance up. And, but then he's like, I've had too much to drink, it's the afternoon, or it's whatever. You know what I mean? Like he always has a reason why he's acting the way he's acting.
So in the original film, that a somewhat similar sequence happens where the kids dance and the Dutch father becomes very angry, but it's not due to alcohol and it is not like rage based.
Yeah.
There's something like almost alien about his discontent.
Well, because he's like, I'm treating you in for a new model soon almost.
Right. Whereas in this movie, there is a kind of like, forgive me, but he has a kind of like trauma underneath,
he has a trauma.
Like he has been.
He does. And it's like, and that part is like a little annoying. And to the extent that they're like filling in American backstories, it like has to be the dad thing. On the other hand, because it's McAvoy, like, they just use him reciting a Philip Larkin poem, to just be like, it's all about parents. And I'm like, well, if we have to do this, like my parents got killed Batman bullshit, like let's do it with James McAvoy, like reciting poetry. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Also really good at passing off like observations from podcasts as like his own discoveries where he's just like, the human mind only needs sleep for 4 hours a night. Like it's whatever he says. It's like a very good, that's like very much a guy who's just like, I'm going to corner you and tell you about Huberman, but pretend like I also have done the research. And I don't know.
What's that like? I don't know. Could you tell us?
No, Chris is not a Huberman guy. He's more of a Jordan Peterson type. He's sending me those links.
I think that like I always
this is a very Jordan Peterson character.
I always cite my sources.
You always cite your sources.
Yeah, and I give them the proper amount of deference. I'm never just like, hey man, I listened to this podcast and you're not going to believe what I now practice.
That's honestly all you do on every podcast.
It's not. It's not, is it?
Well, sometimes you do cite the sources, but you do often say, I heard this on a podcast.
Yeah, but it's not like I also now, I stopped going outside to get sunlight after like 3 weeks.
You had.
That's honestly way longer.
And I think my eyesight got worse because I was doing that, honestly.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
You had golf YouTube.
Yeah.
You had mental wellness and the power of the mind.
No.
That was your Huberman era.
It was about getting UV light.
You had cutting and bulking.
No, but
macros.
It wasn't. Yeah, sure. You had macros.
And tracking.
I'm into Laird Hamilton does a lot of farmer walking with kettlebells.
Yeah, kettlebells era. You guys missed out on kettlebells era. Chris was in there.
What was the subscription service that was for like
Bob
mountain?
Just perked up so hard. Oh my god.
Mountain Tough.
How's Mountain Tough going?
I almost tore my quads doing it. I honestly thought I fucking because you know you see a football player or a soccer player be points at his quads and you're wow, how does he know?
Yeah,
it's when you get into Mountain Tough,
you know. Yeah,
I'm waiting for the phone call when you're like, I actually did tear my quad. I need you to come over. It's gonna be an amazing day. You would have to carry you like a newborn.
No, you would probably come over just to be like, I have to see you in pain, but
no,
not
I would
to
help you. I would help you. I would record the whole thing, but I would help you. Get me the fuck out of here.
Your rehab blogs after you tear your quad.
Oh, I would make it such a thing.
Can you imagine?
I would make it my own Amazon Prime series of the rebuilding of a legend.
You and Neil Elatrash rebuilding all your destroyed ACLs and MCLs.
I would get that dude who worked with Brady though, Alex Guerrero.
Yeah, that dude who's been banned from all NFL facilities.
I'll come back even stronger. Get the fuck out of here, movies. Yeah, strawberries are bad for you. Apparently,
is it like nightshades?
I don't know why.
It is nightshades, that's what they say.
It is, yeah.
And inflammation.
Yeah. Inflammation in the body.
You can't say I
correct.
That.
I don't love strawberries just raw dogging them. I like them in
raw dogging them.
I don't just
as opposed to a good old cooked strawberry.
Eat strawberry. No, I like them on pound cake.
Yeah.
When you're thinking health and wellness, you think pound cake.
Dude, when I live in Philly, sometimes I look at the stuff I used to eat. Do you ever look at the shit you used to eat back in the East Coast?
The Entenmann's aisle,
yeah.
You're like, dear God.
Yeah, it's just
but you don't look. You're just like, yes,
sticks of
3
butter.
bags of Sour Patch
Yeah, give me those
Kids.
sweetheart
no
ropes. Hook me up.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I brought some chips back from Philly for Knox.
We went to a new sandwich joint in Highland Park yesterday. My wife and I had lunch together. It was an amazing hour and 15 minutes of my life.
Okay.
Giada?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Did you get the chicken Caesar wrap?
My wife did.
It's so good.
Is that viral?
They're known for it. They it's the East Side Los Angeles thing where they have 4 outposts and then they finally deign to come, towards us.
Yeah.
I think this is the second one, honestly. I think it's just one on Melrose. Nevertheless.
I think there's one in Venice.
Maybe
and
right.
I follow
you were
them
having
on
a
Instagram.
lovely lunch with your wife.
We had a great lunch. I had the Don Pepe, incredible balsamic chicken sandwich. And then we had a Joe's Tea. Have you had Joe's Tea?
No.
I think it's more of a New York thing. It's a New York style deli. That's the point of the sandwich joint. And just sitting there, Eileen had a peach tea. I had a strawberry lemonade. We both turned about 2/3 of the way through, and we were like, 60 grams of sugar.
I told you when I did
60 grams, sir, Joe. What are you doing?
This is when I had to do the diabetes test for the pregnancy.
You could have used the strawberry lemonade.
I guess so. That would have been really, but basically that's the drink that I was trying to get away from.
Yes.
By then eating
it might actually be the same drink.
A bunch of Sour Patch Kids.
We wonder why we would drink a peach Snapple and then click the top 125 times in a minute.
We've lost sight of
no,
the
let's get back
episode.
to it. Okay. Sorry.
Now I really want pound cake.
It's waiting for you as soon as we get through this
it's not.
false premise of a pod.
No, it's not. And there's no Oreo cheesecake. There's nothing.
Maybe we'll take you out.
Okay.
We'll take you out before you're done, before this
be
child
nice.
arrives. Why do these movies always work? Sometimes they're horror movies, but not always.
To get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, when I was thinking about it, I was like, Captain Phillips, that's a get me the fuck out of here movie. Or 127 Hours. Or Escape from Alcatraz, 12 Angry Men, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. These are all get me the fuck out of here movies.
12 Angry Men because there's too much responsibility or because you have to hang out with a bunch of guys?
It just seems hot in there. These guys are sweating.
Oh, yeah.
There's no AC in that, what is that called? The briefing room?
We're weird about our hotels. You're like, I won't do my civic duty.
Like, I will not uphold justice.
You guys who love to serve on juries? What are you talking about?
Remember when you got dismissed from jury duty live on the Drunk podcast? That was an incredible moment. That was really good.
I was very, very happy.
I don't.
We were pretty charming.
No, I listened to some of it.
Okay.
I listened to some of it.
That was a very fun episode.
Yeah.
I think everybody was really happy with that because we actually got drunk. We did not play it. It was real.
How could we not?
I know, but we were also finished it being like, I feel fine.
Yeah.
We texted each other the next day, no hangover. Who can believe it?
Is that just because the Chinzani or whatever Soderbergh's thing is really smooth?
No, it's because we learned the ancient truth of all 40-somethings, which is in order to not be hungover, just start drinking at 2.
Right.
That is
plus home state.
And also order a shitload of tacos.
We had
30 minutes into the experience.
And potato chips, which I brought.
That's right. We had a lot of snacks. Good pod.
Yeah.
We'll revisit it next year. What's this prompt? Did one of you leave a prompt?
I did. I wanted to know, so the Get Me the Fuck Out of Here movies, they're a little bit of a personal litmus test. I think there's like your own sort of hang-ups and your own anxieties come out in these movies.
They do.
Yeah.
Are there any Get Me the Fuck Out of Here movies that you actually think you'd be fine in?
Where like that doesn't seem so bad.
Like for me,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd do well in The Thing. I don't mind the cold. I don't mind the dark. I like hanging out with other guys. And I think getting to know each other really well and figuring out who was an alien would be fun.
It's him.
No, because the funny thing is he'd start being like really sweet, and I'd be like, "Oh, it's Sean." You have to light him on fire.
Why is Sean being so nice to me?
Hey, Chris, how are your quads?
The alien from The Thing violently tears apart your body.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you're cool with that?
No, but like I think me and Keith David and Kurt Russell would have a great time.
You think they would respect you? What you're bringing to the table?
Do you also think when you're inserting yourself into this situation that like then like with your powers combined you can change the outcome? Like is part of this prompt like what do you think
I
like,
would solve the thing
yeah,
problem?
like I don't need to get out of here. Like I can make it work.
I think
can like
after
resolve
seeing
this.
The Thing 47 times like I have, I probably would be like, "Hey guys, I don't think this is a good idea to let the dogs in here." You know?
Okay.
Like if you go into the movie with
Sure.
the foreknowledge, I don't know.
So what about for you? Is there something where you're like, this
No,
would be hell for somebody?
But that's more about like how often do I examine any situation and think to myself, yeah, I'd like to be a part of that.
Very good point.
It's just like
These
some
sort of all
self-knowledge.
apply to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're similar in that way. I think there's not a lot where I'm like, oh yeah, I could definitely hack it being stuck on a spaceship with an alien. Like that doesn't seem appealing to me. I want to be at my house.
It was just a prompt for a podcast.
It's a good cue.
I'm trying to think of where I could imagine you doing well in a
In
get the
any
fuck
circumstance.
out of here.
I think I would have been okay on Triangle of Sadness now that we think about it.
Oh
like,
God, no.
I mean, I don't want vomit all over me, but
No,
you know.
not interested.
I think that
It's a
you
good shout,
would have
though.
done.
But then you just make it to the nice resort.
Yes,
You know?
yeah, and complain about the room you get. I think you would do well in Bane's Gotham.
Sean is just grinding it out
Because
at the
you're
poker
like,
tables.
all of my fellow hotel workers have joined me. We will rise again.
Just so I'm clear, the hoteliers, they get off. But the people who work in
What
the hotel.
hotelier? Are you staying at the Grand Budapest? Like, what hotelier are you talking about?
I don't know.
A guy behind the counter who sees you come in, he's like, you're
No,
a
you're like
fucking mark.
Steve Kimpton is cool with me, but if you carry bags on an elevator, you're a piece of shit and
I
should
have
be
never
denigrated.
had my
no
bags.
one is talking about the lovely porters and people.
This
who
is being
help you.
recorded, so you have to
It
be
is-
nice to everybody forever from now on.
I'm arguing with the computer system.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're
That's
arguing
definitely
with.
how the people who are manning the computer system
I'm
feel.
polite
And it's
about
private
it.
equity trying to like squeeze us, you know?
Sorry for advocating for myself.
Is private equity trying to squeeze us?
Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
This is it. That's a suitable scapegoat, I guess.
Okay, so there's no get me the fuck out of here movie
Well-
that you think that you would do fine in. That's fine. Let's do our list.
Let me start then, because then I'll say here's one that maybe I could hack it in.
Okay.
Because I feel like I already live in it. It's called The Truman Show. The Truman Show, directed by Peter Weir. Not necessarily immediately what you would think of with the Get Me the Fuck Out of Here. You'd think a scary movie or something intense, but
Yeah.
the trap of modern life. That's
Sure.
what that movie is about. And the same way that I think that
This
both of these
movie,
Speak No
yeah.
Evil movies are about, where you get to a certain stage of your life and you're like, I have it all. I have the white picket fence. I have a loving partner. I have a viable career.
it's
and
all
then
fake.
it's nothing. It's
And your life
meaningless.
is just
I
content.
would say that many of my picks also fall under that
in
category.
that rubric.
Including, I also have a Peter Weir movie.
Oh, okay. I
number-
haven't looked at your list.
Yeah, at number 5, which is Picnic at Hanging Rock.
Oh, perfect.
Which it came to me because you sent this prompt, and I was like, okay, besides like the obvious, structural horror movies, of which I have a couple, but what is a get me the fuck out of here moment? And it's groups of women, primarily, and all the different ways. I mean, that's like what pops up in my head,
That's amazing.
which is like,
What do you mean? You're a friend to women?
I am, but it's like
You can't be against the brutalist and groups of women.
Yeah,
Like,
where do you lay
pick
a
a side?
It's groups of people, and then normally I get stuck in the social mores of groups of women
Mhm.
more often than groups of men because you won't let me in the door,
Yeah.
you know? So
you and Chris share that.
We've really silenced Amanda when you think about it.
If only you had a platform.
Picnic and Hanging Rock is actually like, I mean, people die, so that's tough. And I don't know what's going on at that rock.
Do they?
Well, I guess you don't know. But but it is about like a creepy boarding school / natural wonder. Also, never trust nature.
That sounds both of those things are tough. Yeah.
Right. Frequented by, girls in like Victorian costumes and all of their and the suspect headmistresses. And you don't get a lot of explanation. But the other thing that's interesting about it is like there is also an allure about this school and these girls, and like people kind of want to be near it even though it's not good for them, which is an important thing to nail down in these movies, because otherwise like there needs to be a draw, or else it's like, why didn't you just keep driving,
I think it's an excellent pick, and I like that we're matched on Peter Weir.
Yeah.
Peter Weir, the rare octogenarian who's not still making masterpieces.
40 years of Witness next year.
Gotta take it up with your boy. Call Bill.
I'm trying. Maybe I will, actually.
Give him a shout. And you guys together, you can
Bill, it's me. I need to talk to you.
Bill, I've just scolded a hotel employee. I have some thoughts about Witness.
I am not scolding anyone. I'm asking pleasantly.
Chris,
if the system allows for something better.
Chris, what's your number 5?
I wanted to pick one that was like a party at a house kind of situation. So it was either this or You're Next, but I'm going with Ready or Not, directed by Radio Silence, who did some of the Scream movies and Abigail and everything. This is a delightful movie. Samara Weaving, great Scream queen. Adam Brody gives a very good performance in this film as a sort of alcoholic, rich guy. But the reason why I have it as a get me the fuck out of here is her existence and her life depends on her ability to play games. And I don't follow, like, it's hard for me to learn the rules for board games for some reason. And
Is that true?
Yeah. Like, I'm a big, like, oh, why don't I just start playing and I'll learn? And then I, like, secretly never learn. And I'm like, I've
never noticed that playing board games.
We don't play a lot of board games.
Why do you think that is? Something about my character?
That's fine. So Ready or Not. You
like
that movie, right?
I do really like Ready or Not. Probably still my favorite Radio Silence movie. I hope they get back.
Have you seen this one? You would enjoy it because it's on her wedding night. She has to choose. She basically is getting hunted by her family. I think you would like it
too. Great Henry Czerny performance in this movie.
I haven't seen this one, though I have seen another recent horror movie surrounding whether you can survive a video game. Not a video game, a board game. What was that one?
Oh, is that Escape Room?
No.
Not Ouija.
No. Anyway.
Tarot?
No.
Clue? Battleship?
Yeah, Battleship with Rihanna.
Are you ready to
Dungeons and Dragons?
Oh, no, it wasn't that. Are you ready to play a Clue with like a 5-year-old that is your daughter? And like
just absolutely house her every time you play?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, will you do that?
I mean, here's the thing. I have no problem sharing this with you guys. The reason why I am the way that I am is because whenever I would compete with my dad in anything, he was just like, fuck your feelings. And he would just beat me.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, this is how life goes.
Yeah.
And honestly, look at me now. Thanks, Dad.
Okay.
You did it.
And you don't want to, break the
with
wheel
Alice,
or whatever?
it's the opposite. Obviously, I will let her win every time.
Right.
But I think it's a little bit of a father-daughter versus father-son.
I played it with my godson and his siblings once, and they were like 6, 8.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were like 5, 7. So mostly reading, but all of like the bluffing and strategy was just absolutely just hopeless.
Sussed it out, yeah.
Yeah. And we were sort of playing as teams, and I'm like trying to help them, and I'm like, at what point am I supposed to like teach you about the reality of life versus like obviously it's not Professor Plum because he's right there, Anyway. Would you rather? Let's see. Movie. No, it wasn't. It was more recent. I would say it was like a 2023. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
What's your number 4?
Your number 4 was my number 4, but then I changed it because it was your number 4.
Number 4, one of the greatest movies about Los Angeles ever made. It's The Invitation, directed by Karin Kusama, which is a movie that we've definitely talked about on other episodes of this show before. A movie about a recently divorced man who's invited to a dinner party, which is being hosted by his ex-wife. And it is up in the hills of Hollywood. And with he's a man who's clearly struggling with something. We don't quite know. He's got something from his past that he has not totally reconciled. But also, he has arrived at a very, very strange dinner party. And it becomes clear by the end of the film, like, what's really happening at this dinner party. But this movie nails the exact tension that is somewhat similar to Speak No Evil, where you're like, I'm here and I'm stuck and I really don't want to be here. And I can't think of a single good way to get out of this situation. As I've gotten older, I've put myself in fewer and fewer of these situations.
But you have to learn.
But you got to know when one of these is coming. And in this case, Logan Marshall Green is the star.
Yeah.
And his character, he's so anguished in this movie, but also so confused at the same time. And Karan Kusama, like, incredible master of tone as a filmmaker. And she just makes you so uncomfortable for the first hour of this movie. So, like, somebody drops a glass, you're confronted by a conversation you just desperately do not want to have. Something around the corner is making noise and you don't know what it is. And you're like, why is everything so weird here? So I really love this movie, The Invitation.
Thank you, Chris Ryan, for taking me to see this movie while my husband was out of town. My first 3 months in Los Angeles. I'll never forget it. I mean, it was perfect.
Stage.
And we lived in the hills at the time. And I went to the movies with Chris and Phoebe, which was really nice because Zach was traveling for work. And then watched this wonderful and very creepy film. And then you guys dropped me back off in the hills alone. And I was like, good night.
Well, I think we did.
Amazing.
We tried our best to be like, we'll watch you get to your house and everything.
Yeah. We'll sit here. You wait, like, you know.
And then we paid everybody in the hills to turn on a red light right there.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Okay, Amanda, what's your number 4?
Okay, so my number 4 also came from, you know, the Groups of Women prompt, and also
It's not a prompt.
The prompt
The
inside
prompt
you.
wasn't
Well,
get me away from these fucking women.
So I was like, so what are situations that are like, get me out of here that aren't a haunted house? And weddings like immediately came to mind. And I'm sure, you know, there are many movies set at weddings where consequential things happen. But
Ready or not.
But Bridesmaids is what stuck out to me.
This is very funny.
And that is just, I mean, it's just pure social, you know, and obviously like I was thinking about like the wedding dress scene or the flight or the shower, you know, all the events, all of the groups of like the women who are thrown together trying to enact these traditions that
Did you identify with Wig in that film?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have a little bit of wig blindness.
I do, but I think she's perfectly set in this. And then I actually rewatched some of it this morning. And like the whole movie is about her just being like, I'm miserable in every part of my life. Like even the first scene, which is like the very funny John Hamm sex scene where she's just not having a great time. It is like, get me out of this moment. So it's pretty good.
The movie is an epic tragedy.
Yeah.
Coated in Apatovian comedy. Yeah. What's your number 4, Chris?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Doesn't need a lot of explanation other than the fact that I even want to get the fuck out of the van when the hitchhiker gets on. Like, it honestly turned me off hitchhikers for the rest of my life when I saw this movie. Not that I was ever like a big hitchhiker guy, but we were probably at the tail end of you would reasonably see like, oh, it looks like this fellow needs a ride. But we were starting to get a lot of like, if you pick up the hitchhiker, he'll have a knife for a hand.
I think the film The Hitcher kind of closed the book on this one.
Okay.
But I agree with you that like our parents
probably
picked somebody up
or
over the
themselves.
years or hitched themselves. Yeah.
But
I mean, my parents didn't, but
okay. All right. Well,
just to be stuck out
your
in the
hotel
middle
etiquette.
of nowhere, Texas, with a crazy guy with a chainsaw would be tough.
An amazing movie. There's a new documentary called Chain Reactions coming out soon. It played at Telluride and I didn't get a chance to see it. That is Alexander O'Philippe's documentary about the making of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Wow. And he made a movie like this about Alien. He made a movie like this about The Exorcist. He made a movie like this recently about David Lynch and his relationship to the Wizard of Oz. Really, really like the movies that he makes, and I'm looking forward to this.
That's
one.
Awesome. Good shout.
Okay, my number 3 is Locke. This is a movie.
Why would you want to get the fuck out of Locke? This seems like your dream.
My dream being
Driving
trapped in
around.
a car while having an anxiety attack about the pour that's happening in the morning.
P-O-U-R.
P-O-U-R. Yeah.
okay.
Have you seen this movie?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a movie starring Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy only, along with a collection of voices that are speaking to him into a telephone. A man driving from work to home or somewhere else.
He's driving from home to work. He's trying to get to London on time.
And this is like me before every pod, where I'm like, I'm not ready.
Okay.
I'm not ready to do this. Like, I'm not ready to do this.
It's like get me out of my actual life
Oh,
that
it's
I'm
like a
seeing
work
represented
nightmare
on
dream.
screen.
It's a work nightmare. The whole movie is a work nightmare. And obviously he's got a lot of other things that are going on in his life that he is like addressing and not addressing throughout the film. But, you know, written and directed by Stephen Knight. Perhaps the only good film he's directed. Nevertheless, maybe you've seen Serenity.
I mean, he's contributed a lot in the television world.
Peaky
I know you
Blinders
don't acknowledge it.
Yes, I respect Peaky Blinders. Serenity, starring Anne Hathaway.
Film,
less
right.
successful.
And so it was all.
Is that the game that you're thinking? The movie that you're thinking
No,
of? Okay.
it's a different one.
Okay. Have you seen Serenity?
The one I'm thinking about was like an Airbnb board game.
Oh.
Okay.
An Airbnb board game? Are you talking about the one with Dave Franco that he directed?
No.
Oh, can I just like tease a movie that's coming out soon that is somewhat similar to this?
Sure.
There's a movie coming to Netflix in like a month called It's What's Inside.
Yeah. Phoebe really wants to see this.
That is like basically a group of friends before a wedding play a game together.
Oh, okay.
And then things happen. That's all I'll say.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it. I think the trailer's coming out like really soon. But that falls.
Was this a Sundance one?
It was a Sundance movie.
Is it?
The filmmaker that we met.
But I'll ask you later because I don't want to spoil it for people.
Okay, you're up. Number 3, Amanda.
My number 3 is a classic, Stepford Wives, the 1975. And again, this is a group of women, but it's not the women's fault, you know, this time because it's the men who have turned them into robots.
That's big of you.
Yeah. So sometimes we bring it on ourselves and sometimes the patriarchy strikes again.
I would like them to release this film on 4K UHD.
Okay.
Did you hear the Samsung ad where like AI will like update the movie or TV show you're watching to make it look more contemporary?
Does that mean like put cell phones in people's hands in the film Stepford Wives?
No, it just like changes the grain. It does something to like the picture.
like what Jim Cameron does to his movies when he restores them. I don't want that.
Okay.
Well, we'll let Jim know.
If you can get in touch with him, I'd appreciate it. Ask him if he'd like to join the show. I'm a huge fan. Stepford Wives is very, very, very good.
Yeah.
The remake is not so good.
No.
This movie is like lost to time because it's not streaming. It's not. Maybe it is streaming somewhere now, but it's streaming at a very low quality.
Yeah, it was not the best experience, but I rewatched it before a 1975 draft because I took this.
My girl Paula Prentice, love her. Chris, what's your number 3?
The Hurt Locker. I'm kind of clumsy, so I don't think that I would do a great job disarming.
Get me the fuck out of this bomb disarming.
Yeah, and I also the idea of wearing a very bulky bomb suit sounds very uncomfortable.
Okay, well, now I know how to really develop the 70 millimeter video series experiment.
Is to make me dress up
dress up like the Moon Man
detonation costume.
Yeah, and
you should do that for Halloween this year.
Dressed goes Renner from Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
That'll go over. You're gonna come trick or treating with us again.
Yeah. And I'll play Ray Fiennes.
Meet a lot of friends.
But yeah, I just would never be able to cut the red wire. Like it would just be, I'd be out in the first frame.
I'm overdue for a rewatch of this one.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Now, my number 2 is Green Room. We just talked about Jeremy Saulnier on the show because of Rebel Ridge. Number 1 movie in America.
Yeah. The people are into it.
I told you.
Even when I was like planning that episode, I was like, this might be a little bit of a stretch for a whole episode, but no, people love it. It's really cool. It's great. I let him make 100 more movies. I love Jeremy's movies. Green Room is my favorite. This is his 3rd movie. It's about a punk rock band that plays a club that turns out to be a Nazi enclave.
But this is more about how you hate underground music.
What do you mean? No, I support those artists. And their attempt to get free. That's something that I believe in.
Okay.
Terrifying movie.
Like
genuinely viscerally upsetting.
This is one that Zach, my husband, has seen, even though he's
not
really,
horror.
really, really scared of horror, but he does respect the underground.
It's a thriller, but it's horrifying.
Yeah.
And really, really brilliant movie if people haven't seen it, although I assume given the Rebel Ridge acclaim, people are going back and digging into that one. Early era A24.
Yeah.
That's what I was like. This is one of the first movies they made where people are like, oh, cool. This is a brand that represents something. Okay. Number 2, Amanda.
Another mid-era A24, I guess. Midsommar. I mean, this is how you get me on European vacation, you know? which is like this is the setup where I'd be like, oh fuck, now I can't leave, and I've got this kind of dopey boyfriend, but it's really beautiful. And I guess the Scandinavians just do things differently. And then, you're just like,
would it be,
it's like the cruise ship, you know?
Would you be more alarmed by needing to dress up and do stuff, or would it be the old people throwing themselves off a cliff?
I think that would be the first moment of
red flag
of fear. But I would be stressed out about the wardrobe as well. And it's not like the boyfriend is providing
solace.
Or like, he doesn't know either, you know? You're like, she's like the guest of a guest.
Yeah.
So you don't really have all the information you need, which is another, big sticking point for me. So this is a pretty terrifying movie.
I actually think this movie is really underrated, even though it is widely acclaimed and people say they like it.
It's wonderful.
I think it's major. We saw it together, and I feel like I was a little higher on it when we saw it. Is that fair?
I really liked it. I think that the beginning is so fucked up.
Yeah.
That
it's so grim.
It's almost like it takes you an hour into the movie to get over the beginning, and then it just starts up again with terrible shit. So it's unrelenting. I loved it. I mean, I don't really remember that screening very well for some reason.
Chris, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is the Blair Witch Project, which obviously is terrifying once they get to the house and the guys turn to the wall, and you would hate to have your life ended by a spectral witch. But the get me the fuck out of here part, I have a huge phobia of getting lost in the woods. And I really, really think that would...
I mean, I'm just like, my programmer brain is just like out of control right now. Just like you and a compass and a GoPro. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's maybe why the geolocator trend is really like, it makes me feel better about the idea that maybe he could find me. Maybe Rainbolt would know where I am.
That's true.
But when they walk around, they're like, we've passed this tree before. He knows
where you are at all times.
When they're like, we've passed this tree before, honestly, my worst nightmare. And the idea that I wouldn't be able to get out of a forest, it sounds like hell on earth.
Seeing this movie in a movie theater was fucking religious. I'll do anything to get back to the feeling I had after I saw this movie. I don't think it will ever happen again.
Movies could do it, or do we have to be that age?
I think it's all of those things. I think there's something about what movies are now, maybe how much we all understand movies because of what we've been doing with our lives. Yeah, we've seen too much stuff. I mean, I was 15 when this movie came out. It was perfect. Perfect. The era of the internet that we were in, it was perfect. Just magical. Great pick. Are you afraid of the forest? You're afraid of birds.
Yeah. I don't, sightlines, sightlines are tricky. Right. I don't like to be too exposed, but also.
You love the beach, though.
Yeah, but,
Where are you more exposed than on the beach?
When we went to Montana and we were just really driving and it was just like flat.
She didn't like there was nowhere to hide.
Yeah, and you could see the people coming, and you're like, what do I do?
This
I think
is
you're
still
so
one
weird.
of your weirdest
I think
bits.
You're so weird.
I love you because you bring it up every 5 years.
That was like an incredibly primal reaction I had. We were just driving.
But you
still the plains of Montana.
Yeah, and I was just like, where do you hide?
Like a militia or zombies or the Russians? Like, who are you worried about?
I don't know. They're coming. And they're just like, and you're like,
but when you're in traffic on Highland, you're not worried about that.
This is why I constantly am pushing back against the Sean's so weird. And I'm like, she's right here.
I mean, nobody asks me,
It's a good take. It's a very good take.
But the forest is the flip side, where it's like you can't see anything, so you don't know where you're. I'm with you, like you don't know
you're on Mother Nature's turf.
Yeah,
My number 1 is related to that, which is The Mist, which I think is the best of both worlds. It's the best of get me the fuck out of the natural world, which has been literally overtaken by creatures of some kind. Also, get me the fuck out of this confined space, this kind of general store where all of these people are gathered together.
And as somebody who's bumped into you at the supermarket, that's your time. You've got your AirPods in, and you look at me like you stepped in something, and you're like, I can't believe I have to make more small talk with this guy at Gelson's.
Well, that's not true. I'm always delighted to see you, but
it is true when you run into someone unscheduled, it's like
here's the othering again. I don't.
You don't really know.
I'm a normal man.
And listen, I say that
I am a normal man who went to the supermarket to acquire groceries.
I understand that sometimes you don't want to see people. You know, like in New York, all the time. You cross
Have you
the street.
ever considered the source of who I've run into?
Well,
it just so happens that you two.
It's like, but you are really like, you have like a special.
But if Jeremy
face that you
Saulnier was
make,
there, you'd
you
be
know?
like, Jeremy,
What's up,
big
brother?
fan. Yeah.
Give him a big
and it's
hug.
like, you know that you're supposed to be excited to see us, you know, but it's like you haven't quite turned that switch.
I mean, I think that I have a little bit too much consciousness about the vagaries of social interaction that I find annoying. And I feel like the three of us are above that. We don't have to do small talk in the supermarket.
You decided that.
What do you mean I decided it?
You're the one who sets the tone.
No, I have the biggest brain where I'm like, we don't need to do all this stuff. Let's do the stuff that matters.
Yeah.
You know, like if you want to bond, we can bond. Are we really going to fucking bond in Gelson's for 3 minutes on a Wednesday? No. That's why we're doing the show. We're bonding.
I mean, I do hear that, but you couldn't just be like, hey, what's up?
But that's when you put the mist down. I was like, this is
would not
because his idea of hell on earth is to be stuck in a grocery store with strangers.
I wouldn't enjoy that at all. I would not like that. Amanda, what's your number one?
It's Get Out, because no one put Get Out on the list. You know, it's right there in the title. Also, respectfully,
good point.
Also, one of the great movies of this century.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you really don't want to be in that house if you're him.
Who do you most relate to in Get Out?
Bradley Whitford? Is that what you're looking for?
That's what I was waiting for. Yeah. How many times would you vote for Kamala? What's your number one?
Mine's Open Water 2: Adrift, directed by Hans Horn. And just a quick bit of housekeeping. You can find my Hans Horn monograph coming on Faber in the fall called Horns Up, the cinema of Hans Horn. Do you guys know what the plot for Open Water 2 Adrift is?
No, but I hope you will tell us at great length.
3 couples
in
Mexico go on a birthday trip out on a yacht into the water, I guess off Yucatan or whatever. It's one couple has kind of inexplicably decided to bring their newborn baby with them. And then there's another couple that's like a party guy with his new girlfriend. And then there's just a sort of filler third couple. 4 of the people decide to go swimming one day. They're swimming off the boat. The one woman who brought her newborn has had a traumatic event in her childhood, so she doesn't like swimming. She's always wearing her life jacket. But the guy who's the party guy wants to conquer that for her. And so he throws her in the water with the other 4 people and jumps in himself. But nobody put down the ladder. So now they're stuck in the water. They can't get back up on the boat, and the baby is in the boat.
Does the baby wear a life jacket like the mom?
Well, the baby's just in a bed. The baby's chilling.
Oh,
it's not in the water, but you can hear the baby from the water.
Oh.
And I wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like any part of it. I wouldn't have wanted it to be me who decided it would be a funny bit to throw the woman who doesn't like swimming into the water. And I definitely would have been the guy who hadn't made sure the ladders are down. The whole shark thing is really scary. And then there's just like a bunch of stuff of them trying to get back into the boat.
Right.
You can imagine it doesn't go well, since it's part of the Open Water franchise.
I think you're 2 of the most amazing minds I've ever come across. This has been honestly one of the most fun episodes we've done in a long time. I want to thank you for your candor.
You don't have any comment on Open Water 2: Adrift?
I haven't seen it. I'd like to
Directed
see it.
by Hans
I feel like you
Horn?
just ruined it for me. You started talking and I was like, I don't want to hear this because I want to watch this movie, which happens from time to time on this
Dane,
show.
isn't it?
Eric Dane. Wonderful. Any honorable mentions you want to hit?
Oh, I had some. Well, you know,
I started making a letterbox list and I was like, there's 300 movies on this list. Like it was too long.
I had The Invitation.
Would you want to get out of Marriage Story?
Oh.
Which part?
Well,
Going to see Scarlett Johansson's play?
You know what actually
she's not in the
stresses me out
place.
so
Isn't
much?
she doing the horse thing in the
I know
early
she will
part?
relate to
Oh,
this.
that's right, yeah.
The part of that movie that I want to get out of is like the custody battle and the like
Yeah.
sharing
No, it's
weekends. Like
awful.
I will never ever put myself in that situation. That's so fucked up.
You just like
But
fake your own death.
I mean, the movie is
Probably.
also about wanting to get out of it, which is nice. So it addresses that. It gives you some resolution.
Did you guys hear about Sean? He was reenacting Open Water 2. He's gone forever.
Solo Open Water 2 reaction.
Sean is adrift.
What else?
Apollo 13.
Oh,
I
good
don't
one.
want to be stuck in space.
Yeah. I mean,
but I think
it's
Mission
very
Control would be a
inspiring.
cool place. A lot of collaboration and camaraderie.
No, that's true. And Ed Harris in the vest.
Yeah.
And it works
And
out.
you could smoke
We've never
indoors.
lost a man in space, even though they've stranded two of them for a very long time.
I have like a
They've really are underplaying this.
wait. Which part?
The part about do you not know about the Americans stuck on the spaceship?
No.
Oh yeah.
This is like
It's another whale
the
situation. We got
yeah,
another whale
you don't know about this?
situation.
Okay,
No.
so they sent 2 astronauts up for like a space station mission, and it was supposed to be like 10 days or something.
Okay.
And now they're not going home until SpaceX can rescue them in February.
It's tough. It's tough.
It's not what you want, and you really don't want to be relying on Elon as your,
But he's got to go. Doesn't he have to go do something about that? Doesn't Elon? Are they going? Is Starlink trying to get them back?
Yeah, no, I think they are doing it.
I feel like
But
they're
it's
going to
like
miss the engagements in
space
70
program.
millimeter of the Brutalist. That's not
Yeah.
ideal for those guys. What are they going to do?
I know. It's tough.
It's tough. Would you consider Back to the Future a Get Me the Fuck Out of Here movie?
No, I think that would be sick.
To bang your mom?
No, to go back in time and invent rock.
Oh, you want to
okay.
be Chuck
Yeah.
Berry?
Yes,
You want to market correct Chuck Berry? Die Hard?
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to get out of there.
I would definitely be Ellis, so that would be a short film for me.
That's funny. Assault on Precinct 13.
Sure.
Sure.
What about Ace in the Hole? You know the Billy Wilder movie where the guy
Oh,
gets stuck
that's a
in
deep
the
cut.
hole?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Not ideal. What about The Shallows?
Oh, is that the Blake Lively with the?
Yeah.
I mean, really, any Blake Lively movie.
That's
at
how
this
I
point
felt
is
watching
like,
It Ends
get
With
outta
Us.
here.
I
Yeah.
felt like I was in The
A
Shallows.
simple favor, sure.
Free Guy?
I would
Oh, I
fucking
would-
hate being a free guy.
Mm,
Would you want to be in Jurassic Park? Would you want to be among the first visitors?
was just talking with Yasi Salik about this because she went to Africa on a safari and she saw
Okay. Well,
lions.
those are real.
I realized that, but one of the questions I asked her was like, "Are you into the idea of getting close to a lion? Like, did you want that?" 'Cause some people are like, "I don't want to."
What'd she say?
I mean,
She did. She enjoyed
I
herself.
really hate the zoo.
Don't you have to go all the time?
I actually like don't go that often, but in addition to, the zoo is like sort of depressing.
Yeah.
But I don't really like being close to animals. And about my whole thing about when they let like the peacocks roam and they let it do the Philly Zoo or the Los Angeles Arboretum where we went recently.
I had a tough experience at a zoo once
Like,
too.
get that shit away from me. I do not want to interact with a peacock.
At the Philly Zoo, actually.
Yeah, they're just roaming around the
What
Philly
was your
Zoo.
experience?
Martha the tiger took a piss on me. Did I ever tell you that? Did I tell you this? And the funny thing about it was I wasn't doing anything to the tiger. These kids next to me were
That
like,
tiger went full
"Hey,
tiger."
tiger, go fucking jump off a rope." Like they were like really harassing.
Uh-huh.
I was standing there wearing a Martha the Tiger t-shirt. That was how down I was. I was like in 3rd grade. Martha the tiger gets up on her hind legs, squirts all the way from across the cage, pisses all over my shirt. Let me tell you something.
Sure, that was piss.
Disgusting. Why would you do that?
He used a word. I don't.
Okay.
I got home, and you've never seen a face like the face of my cat when she smelled tiger piss on my t-shirt. So R.I.P. Smokey. She died not that day, but she passed away.
We got to do like a Crocodile Hunter style show with you. We gotta set you off into the world without a geo tracker.
I can't believe
I can't believe I didn't tell you that
that's
before.
that's an amazing addition.
Did
to the
you
one-man
do that
show.
because you were worried about opening for James McAvoy on this pod? Is that why you just told that story? Thank you to Chris Ryan and Amanda Dobbins for being completely deranged
And
on
Martha
this
the Tiger.
episode. Thanks to Martha the Tiger for spreading her seed. Thank you so much to Jack Sanders for his work on this episode. Thanks to our producer Bobby Wagner for his work as well. This has been a good pod. Thank you so much for listening to it. Early next week,
Yeah.
we'll be joined by Adam Naiman.
Show Dad.
Show Dad, yeah. So he saw the film Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's willing to address the film on
Okay.
the podcast. What do you think? Is it a cowardly act to not address it?
I will ask him anyway.
Okay.
I'm not afraid to pose the tough questions.
When we return, we'll also be doing the big Oscar bet. How are you feeling about making those predictions? The Brutalists across the board?
I mean, I have been giving a lot of thought to what I'm going to do with that one.
Great.
So
exciting.
Yeah.
See you then.